So the people that got into the most trouble when 1.44 megabyte floppy drives were replaced by CDs were the very best people. The ones that were in second and third place, they said, well, okay, there's nothing to lose here. We might as well drop our 1.44 megabyte production line and we'll go directly to CDs. But the ones that were right at the top, the best people within the marketplace, were the least likely to actually give away that advantage that they already had. So what we're talking about here is that an operation strategy, regardless of how good it is, regardless of how well your production facilities are, how efficient you are at actually manufacturing or transforming the raw materials of the floppy drive into a floppy drive which now nobody ever wants to buy. It doesn't matter. It has to fit in with the business strategy. And business strategies do change. In a visionary sense, at a corporate or an organizational strategy, it's broader. You wouldn't get it into specifics like a floppy drive. I would suggest to you that people like 3M with their floppy drives would have said that we're in the business of storage facilities for computers, the storage facilities. But at a business strategy level, then they have to actually adapt that organizational strategy and just say, well, okay, what are we going to make that fits in with our organizational strategy? And you would go from a floppy drive into a CD, and then to a DVD drive, and then into USBs. And what's next? Or what is now? Cloud. Cloud. May not even need it at all. You know, the cloud suppliers may be the way to go. And I don't know how many people use cloud. I use cloud. I'll show you. I don't even know that I'm using cloud. I'm using cloud. This is a Windows phone. It's a Nokia 920. It's got a facility on there for me to store on the cloud, which is amazing. I don't know where it is. Who cares? As long as I can get the information back. So we're using this without even knowing. Although this particular one is much better for me than an Apple, because I can actually download it. I can use that Windows phone as almost as a USB. So I can take files from that phone. I can upload from my computer, download to the computer. But this idea of actually putting it to the cloud computing is amazing. But I think they call it SkyDrive. They don't actually call it cloud. But that's what it is it not? So you have to be aware of what is happening. So if you were today the best manufacturers of CDs or DVD drives, you would still be looking at other options, would you not? You would need to be. So, but it's this mix of corporate, business and operation strategy that is going to be important. A good strategy needs to be flexible enough to allow for periodical realignments in response to changes in the external environment. Technology, new types of technology comes in and changes the way we do things. These forces for change may be technological, it could be political, they could be simply economic, socio-cultural, legal or environmental. Tell me economic. In this country, what has that been a major change in the way that we are going to produce electricity? Solar is one. Nuclear, which is what your assignment is going to be about, by the way. That particular example of the nuclear facility in Abu Dhabi is a great example of a strategy change that had to occur for economic reasons. Why would a country who has its major resource as oil use a lot of that oil in producing electricity internally? Why not? If that's your main source of income, which you could be selling, why would you be using that yourself? Yes, you have to use it, some of it, but are there alternatives? And this government has said, well, okay, let's try nuclear. And nuclear energy is a strategic way in which you can realign through economic incentives. Does everyone know that there is a pipeline for oil that goes from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah? Everybody knows this now?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that was built? It has an extra pipe let in? To bypass where? To which one? Yes.
To bypass the Strait of Hormuz, then they get direct access to the Indian Ocean.
You know I can't hear without my glasses. Try again.
So they build a pipeline from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah so that they can bypass the Strait of Hormuz.
The Straits of Hormuz. The Straits of Hormuz. The Straits of Hormuz is the key to this particular one. If for whatever reason, Straits of Hormuz, you could not go through it. For whatever reason. And we won't go into all the reasons that it could be. But if that was blocked, for whatever reason, how would you export oil from the UAE? Trucks? You'd need a lot of trucks to fill a big super tanker. Yeah. Or you could take it by trucks to Fujairah. I wouldn't want to be on that road, I can tell you. But
pipes under the ground. Pipes under the ground.
To where?
Pipes.
Yes, but where?
To the countries next like Saudi Arabia and most of the Gulf countries.
Yeah.
Isn't they use the same way of pipes?
Yes.
I know it in Saudi Arabia. I'm very sure that they use pipes.
Yes, they do.
To transfer.
So you may not remember back this far, but when the Suez Canal was blocked, then oil had to come a considerable distance around Africa by not going through the Suez Canal. So Europe could not buy Middle Eastern oil at the same prices. This is when the price of oil went up and all sorts of things happened. Lots of implications for that. So this was a strategic move. A strategic move by the UAE government to say, well, okay, in case, for any reason, and you didn't really have to have a reason, you had a risk, for whatever reason, of the Straits of Hormuz being blocked. You had no way of exporting anything, except to other countries within the Gulf. And I don't think that they really wanted to buy our oil, because they have all got oil themselves. So Fujairah has the advantage of being out on the other side, on the Indian Ocean side of this country. So that may be the driver that you can get oil out. But what additional advantages comes out of that? Additional advantages.
Low price? Low price of transport.
Low price for what?
Transportation to sell.
How? Sure. You are right, but I want you to tease it out.
They're going to sell for the same price that they sell it usually, but they will get it will cost for them less to transfer it.
To where? But the oil wells are generally within the Abu Dhabi area.
I mean, the transportation, like you said, when the Suez Canal, they took a long way and the price is so high. So it costs more.
Yes.
But if it costs less, it will really be a benefit to them.
Yes. But I'm trying to tease out how it costs less. It costs less because you don't have a super tanker that has to travel up through the Straits of Hormuz and down to Abu Dhabi. It'll take a day. Load it there, and then up, and another day back to where you started from at Fujairah. Your markets are closer to Fujairah. Your end users are closer to Fujairah than they are to Abu Dhabi. So you can save virtually 2 days of supertanker expenses. And a supertanker is pretty expensive on a daily basis.
This insurance.
You're absolutely correct. You must know something about this, because I didn't know about this until I gave it to some service. And they said, well, there is an insurance premium that you pay for any ship that goes through the Straits of Hormuz. As soon as you go through the Straits of Hormuz, the insurance rate goes up. So you miss out on that insurance rate. So this is an example of mixing in an organizational strategy with a business strategy. Now we get down to an operational strategy. The actual building of the pipeline, whether it be underground or above ground, yes, that takes place. But what else is going to happen in Fujairah? Think about it. See, who's been to Fujairah? Tell me what's in Fujairah.
Sorry?
Tell me what is in Fujairah. Describe Fujairah in no less than 25 words.
Fujairah actually is mainly, there is a mountain.
A mountain?
Yeah. We are concentrating in the seaboard. Most of the activity now is coming in the seaboard because of the pipeline which you told about it. We have now storage facility. We are the second city in the world after Singapore to have the storage bunkering, storage facility. We have one company, it's called Kim Oil. Mr. Ahmed is one manager of there. We are having 460 cubic meter storage facility. What else?
Before the pipeline, tell me about Fujairah. Desert?
No.
So, you're now operations management team at this particular course. What are you going to now do? We're going to rush out and buy land in Fujairah, are we not? That's got to be a golden opportunity. If you know that this pipeline has gone in and you didn't have anything to do with the pipeline going in, the UAE government has actually created that pipeline. Fujairah, I think, is going to be bigger than Dubai within the next decade. 2 decades. But a long-term investment, think about where it is in a positional way. It is in a gorgeous position for trade in this country. So it's those types of things that you think, well, okay, in an organizational chat, you're not going to change it, you're not going to build the pipeline for economic reasons. Somebody else is going to do it for economic reasons or for environmental reasons. But you're going to take advantage of it. It's like I took advantage of the fact that one organization was not very efficient at packaging their products into small-sized containers. So you take advantage of somebody else's decisions. If I could buy land in Fujairah, that's where I would be going in the next couple of decades. I think that that's an enormous value. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is part of the 3 types of strategies. Now, what you do at that particular stage, an operational stage, is up to you. You've got to find things to actually do. But it's set up for you. You know, I often say that I have a definition of luck. You know, people call me lucky. They call me lucky because you know, things seem to happen to me well. But I define luck in this way. It is when preparation meets an opportunity. Yes, if you are not prepared, if you do not understand the opportunity that is presented to you, then you'll ignore it. But we're all faced with these opportunities, such as building in Fujairah or building a factory to repackage oil. See the opportunities, but you have to be prepared for it. If you're not prepared to see those opportunities, then they will just bypass you, as they bypass most people. So I don't mind being called lucky, because I prepare for this. I see these strategies in a sense that you know, somebody's put in an organizational strategy, which I can't do anything about. There's a business strategy in there somewhere. I can understand what that business strategy is about. But as far as it comes to the operational strategy, I'm there. I need to actually understand how I can actually get value out of it. So I get very lucky. I get very lucky. I want you guys to be lucky as well. I'm being prepared to understand where those opportunities are. And this is not a course on entrepreneurship, by the way, but it's but it all fits in. RIM BlackBerry used to be the smartphone to use, yet its market share has decreased globally to that of a minor player. How did Apple and Samsung manage to secure today almost 50% of the global market between them? 50%. That's big figures. How? Innovation. Which type of innovation?
Giving more to the customer than what.
But didn't RIM with BlackBerry give what population wanted? By the way, let me ask a question. Who's got a BlackBerry here? That's still 50%. Who's got more than one BlackBerry? In this country, which is a socially collaborative society, the RIM BlackBerry fits the needs of this population better than anything else still. Does it not? I don't know about the new Z10 or whatever it's called, the new operating system. But right now it fits the market very well. So why did it globally go down? And Apple and Samsung, Apple the iPad and Samsung with its Galaxy, why is that managed to creep up? More features? But what type of features?
Applications.
They avoid to adopt the PPM message.
Communication.
Okay, well they certainly didn't follow somebody.
Communication.
Communication in what way? RIM are very good with communication.
It makes it easier to communicate with everybody the different ways of like the chatting, the internet, the messenger.
Yeah?
It's open platform for developers.
Well, the Android may not be that open, and certainly the Apple operating system is not open as such.
BlackBerry has a advantage to use DBM, BlackBerry Facility.
Yes.
It's like free space to have a communication conflict between the BlackBerry components.
But why has it dropped if it's so good? Globally?
Yes, there's a big competition between Samsung, Nokia, and Apple. Because there's a big investment now in application apps, especially with Apple. And Nokia now started to go follow this direction.
Sure. This is a class discussion. I want you guys to be thinking about this. How come somebody that is such a prominent player in the marketplace, BlackBerry, can go down so far, and Apple and Samsung can go up so far in such a short period of time?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a relatively short period of time.
Business.
And what about this? Nokia. Nokia. They're going to be anything. You've got one as well. Oh, you've got a cover on yours as well. Okay. What if I said that the new Samsung, this is not a Samsung logo, if you're watching a video and you look away, it will stop. See, that would say? Don't look at the feature, but look at what it represents. Look at what it's actually representing. Advancement of technologies is where we were trying to go. Changes. It changes. It keeps on changing. It gives more and more and more. And all of these features may not be the reason why you go out to buy something, but they are continually changing. What BlackBerry unfortunately did was they had the 1.44 megabyte floppy drive, and they were very good at it. And they said, well, we'll stick with this because nobody's going to pick up. But people leapfrog over that technology. They go over that technology. Now this particular phone has a great feature. I never plug it in to recharge it.
Wireless charging.
It's wireless charging. Now, would I have bought it simply for that? No. I bought it because I can plug it in and use it like a USB. And I don't, with my iPhone, have to send it somewhere and then come back, which always confused me. My wife's iPhone confused me enormously, so she knows how to use it, but this one, this was for me. This I could just go home at night, change, quite rapidly sometimes within operations management. Here's another couple of questions. What's the future for Huawei? Huawei. I hope I've said that right. Huawei? Yeah, I must tell you a story. I'm a fan of a book called The Art of War. Has anybody read The Art of War? It's written by a Chinese Navy general called Sun Tzu. Or Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu. We call it Sun Tzu for the time being. And I was invited to a conference in Shanghai. And I thought, wow. I come from Australia. I can now stand up and actually talk about Sun Tzu in front of my Chinese audience. And there were maybe 1,000 delegates in the room. And I started talking about Sun Tzu. There were all these blank Chinese faces there. And I thought, they must know about Sun Tzu. Surely, they must know about Sun Tzu. I mean, this is their history. And I thought, this is the communist regime. They haven't taught them right. And I'm thinking, this is weird. I've come all this way to Shanghai to talk about Sun Tzu, and nobody understood. Nobody understood. And this was my talk. My whole talk was about Sun Tzu, the philosophy. I went on for 20 minutes. It was painful. I was dying up there. I was absolutely dying. Just not connecting with the audience at all. And then from the back of the room, Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu! And he pronounced it correctly. And it wasn't Sun Tzu at all, it was Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu. And then the whole room just lit up. Ah! Sun Tzu! And it completely changed it. So one word or one pronunciation can be completely different. So Huawei, you know what I'm talking about. I probably got that one wrong as well. But Huawei is coming into the marketplace as a fairly new player. Has anyone heard of Huawei? I can't get away with Chinese pronunciation. Even in Sharjah, I can't get away with Chinese pronunciation. So, Huawei? Huawei. How can you get Huawei out of that? Okay. Well, I tell you what we want. We won't call it Sun Tzu. That's the one thing we're going to do. This is a new market. So if you were the operations managers for whatever you said, not Sun Tzu, what would you be doing? Knowing a history in the past of how Apple has developed and how Samsung has developed and how BlackBerry has gone down in demand. What would you do as operations manager for Huawei? Based on the lessons.
Change strategy, I mean business strategy.
Keep changing it. Keep changing. Keep adding things. Keep adding new things onto it. Really? So this is new stuff that I'm talking about. Yeah. What's the advantage of, the initial advantage of Huawei over Apple or Samsung? Cheap. There's got to be a way to go to start with. At least you're going to have a look. At least you're going to have a look at it. You know, whether it works or not, you know, there's got to be value for money. But if you can come into a marketplace, know at half the price of your main potential competitors, it's got to be a way. But if you want to keep that business up, then you have to keep changing that strategy and keep changing what you're doing. All of the features of that particular system. Based around an organization's goals, operations management's objective is to provide goods and services as efficiently and effectively as possible in order to provide a competitive advantage over your opposition. Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. And it's this mix of efficiency and effectiveness that we need to concentrate on within operations management. But effectiveness of doing the right things is not to keep doing the same things that we have been doing in the past. I think in week 2 or week 3 we start talking about, no, week 2, next week, we actually talk about re-engineering in the form of re-engineering the corporation, of looking at how we do processes in a completely different way, not as simply an extension of what we have done in the past, but looking at things from a completely different perspective. Sometimes we have to do that. It's dangerous, but you need to keep going. This is the value chain. Each organization has its own internal value chain, and it's made up of activities which add value to the products or services it provides. Remember this value chain, the transformation process of adding on parts in that value chain. And if we can do this as efficiently and effectively as possible, we add value as we go along this value chain. Michael Porter in '85 proposed that a manufacturing company activities include primary activities, support activities, and a margin or a profit. And this is the diagram that actually shows this. The primary activities may be inbound logistics, week 3, operations, right the way through, outbound logistics, week 3, marketing and sales, all the way, and service, which we'll talk about next week. So the inbound logistics is bringing the raw materials or parts into your system. The operations is that transformation process, the manufacturing process. The outbound logistics of actually getting it out to your customers or distributors. Marketing and sales is actually part of getting it out, making sure that you have the right product to get out to the marketplace. And the service. It's called a whole of product model. A whole product model. It means that you can't just sell a product without having some subsidiary additions to it. You don't buy a computer just with a computer. You buy an operating system. You buy a warranty. You buy You know what links in with a printer? You buy things that you can do with the computer, application software. All of these things you need to buy, because you're not just going to buy something that doesn't work on its own. Unless you're a true innovator in that technology adoption life cycle. You need to have the whole thing, and to get to a large market share, then you need that whole product model. People need to be satisfied, you know, general public need to be satisfied that they're getting a complete package, a whole of product. The support activities of procurement, I use this example again in week 3. Procurement was told to me by a good friend of mine in Australia. He said that the best sales always start with the best buying. Buying first will determine how well you can sell it in the end. It's simple, isn't it? This guy became almost billionaire from doing simply that. A very simple, straightforward. I didn't read that in a book. It just came out with it. The technology development, how you can actually develop the technology and why you should go in a particular direction. The human resource management of actual training. If there's one thing that I believe that we're short of in this country, is training service personnel. And I don't know, you may have different interpretations of that. But I think it's very, very important to understand the need for training of service personnel. They're your front people. And remember what the weakest link is where it all falls down. And the firm infrastructure, that you've actually got these things set up in the right way. And of course, the margin at the end. So generic value chain is primary activities, support activity, plus your margin. I have to ask you this question. I asked every class this question. Are you going to do any reading on this?
Didn't hear. What was the question?
You know, I will put them up. Do I expect you to read them or not? You will read them? Okay. All right. He's going to be reading all of the words. What I will try to do in this 4-week course is to include all of the relevant parts on the slides. It takes me a long time to actually convert something, including the readings, into a set of 25 or 30 slides, the topic. But I will try desperately to do that. I know that this is not a big reading culture. I will put it up there if you want to read it, fine, but I will still try to give you everything without having to read, without it being necessary to read it. I would suggest to you that it would be in your best interest to read it as well, but it's not going to be absolutely critical that you read it. But I'll still put the readings up. And of course the readings are in your manuals as well. When do you guys need a break?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock? Then we'll carry on until 10. Contemporary production and operations management has its roots in the Industrial Revolution that occurred in the late 18th and early 19th century in the UK. Up to then, craftsmen, craftswomen, with their apprentices, produced goods in small shops or the homes, and it was really called cottage industries. You know, I still did things as a cottage industry when I was developing software. That was the only way that I could do it in those days. It was a one-off stuff. It's not the most efficient way of doing it, but it suited my purpose, and it got the end result. At the end of the day, that was the way that I could do it. I was the only one who knew what I was doing in those days. There was nobody that I could actually bring in to say, Well, let's discuss this. These days, however, it's better if you can have a collaborative effort, because we are not experts in all things that we do. And we have to appreciate that. I can probably do all of the things that I need to do to build an ASRS warehouse, but it would not be efficient for me to do that, because there are other people that I could bring in who have more expertise in this area, more expertise in this area, more expertise in that area. So it's this collaboration that really is necessary within modern management. But when you are used to doing it in a particular way, when you are used to doing work in a particular way, it is of great threat to you if someone comes along with a new way of doing things. And these clashes have occurred. This was the first clash between what was known as an agricultural era and an industrial era. In much the same way today, we're getting clashes between industrial era and information era. But we have got something to look back at. We can see that it happened when it was changing from agricultural to industrial. And things that were happening this time, you can still see happening today, but with industrial and information. For example, if it's going to change the way that you do things, change your lifestyle, then I'm going to go back to Chinese now. The Chinese have a word for crisis, which is made up of, or crisis or change. We should. I don't speak Chinese, but I want to make that perfectly clear. We should. It means crisis or change. It's actually made up of two characters in the Chinese language. The first character is danger, and the other one is opportunity. Danger and opportunity. They're both characters within that one word for change. Now, when you see change, you can either be what's known as an E-type or an O-type. As managers who are responsible for making changes within an organization, let us hope that you are O-types. When you see the change about to take place, you can see the opportunities that change will bring. What you must be aware of, however, is that not all people that are working for you will see the opportunity. They will see the danger. And they are D-types. Managers may be O-types, but the people that are working for you may not see the opportunities like you do. They can see only the danger. And if you are doing something in a particular way, and this is how you have kept your family fed for centuries, by doing things in a particular way, imagine the shock when the way of doing things is about to change. When someone comes in and says, you can do so much a day by hand, but my machine can do 100 times more than you. It's going to be frightening, is it not? Your family's welfare is at stake. So you can see the danger. It's not that you can see the opportunities. All you can see out of it at that time is the danger. Move on. So the use of machinery in factories to increase productivity led to big clashes with existing methods. And the Luddites was a famous case in late 19th century Britain. Tell me who's heard of a Luddite? A Luddite, and what the description of a Luddite was. Good. Nobody? Okay. If you, it's become a rather derogatory term to use with people. If you think that somebody is not accepting new ideas, you can somewhat derogatorily refer to them as a Luddite. Somebody who doesn't need new tech or doesn't accept new technology or new ways of doing things. That's the word is Luddite. But I should tell you where it came from. There was a guy in 19th century Britain, in northern England, called Ned, what was his first name? Ludd. Ned Ludd. Ludd was his surname. And he led, supposedly, other people say that he wasn't really a leader, he was just one of the conspirators. He was one of the people that decided that this new technology coming in to northern England, which was woolen mills, the big woolen looms, you know the way you spin wool with the wheel? Yeah, people still do this. It's rather relaxing to imagine, to do spinning in this way. That was the cottage industry way. But imagine if you've been doing that at a big factory and it says, we can do it 100 times faster than you can do it, much more efficiently. So what these guys did is the conspirators all got together and they got in there with big hammers, broke into the factory, and they smashed up all of the machinery. And that movement was called the Luddites. And what happened to them? They were all hung. They were all executed. Because the British didn't muck around in those days. They said they were going to said this is stopping production. That's why most of us got to Australia for stealing bread, you know. So they had some fairly severe punishments in those days. So all of the conspirators who broke up this equipment were hung. But the name lived on. So the Luddites, from Ned Ludd, actually lives on today. So if there's somebody that is not accepting new technology, you can actually call them a Luddite. Yes? So, but we carry on. We carry on to Frederick Winslow Taylor, and considered the father of scientific management. He brought the concepts of work specialization and assembly line practices which remained prevalent until late 20th century. It was certainly Taylorism was the main form of scientific management that I learned about when I was doing my undergraduate degree. And I was there at the time, I was doing my degree at the time where I think I was the first ever to put in a word processor assignment. I looked at it the other day. I still have my assignments from my undergraduate days. It was all handwritten, all faded and moth-eaten, and it doesn't look too good, and it's all faded. But yeah, I used to handwrite everything. But I was one of the first to actually put in a word processor document for for an assignment. I also did a simulation exercise as well, which we might talk about later, for operations management back in the 80s. So we were still talking about Taylor back in the 80s. But in 1911, he stood in front of US Congress and gave a famous speech, and I'm doing this from memory. Not because I was there at the time. He said to the US Congress, after doing some research on the Bethlehem steel mills in the US, he said, if you are the type of person who is fit enough and phlegmatic enough to shovel pig iron. Now, pig iron is a raw material of making steel. If you are fit enough and phlegmatic enough to be able to shovel pig iron, then you will not be the same person who best knows how to shovel pig iron. Now that philosophy, that idea that if you could do the work, you wouldn't be the type of person who could best know how to do the work, made that distinction between the workers and management at that stage. And that really typified what industrial era management thinking was about. There's management, who best knows how to do it, and the workers who actually do it. In a knowledge era, there is a responsibility of management now to realize that if we're dealing with knowledge, then the people who are doing the work may well be the best people to know how best to do the work. Would you, as a manager in the early part of the 20th century, go to a pig iron shoveler and say, how long do you want for the brakes? You know, how long is your shovel handle going to be? You see how much I know about shovels? What's the bit on the other end of the shovel? I don't know anything about shovels because I'm not a pig iron shoveler, but I've done my shoveling in my day. The bit that you shovel with, the spade bit, blade of the shovel. How big does that need to be? You know, how fast do you need to go? These were jobs, these were questions that you did not ask the people who were actually doing the work. You worked this out scientifically. Management worked this one out scientifically. These days, we ask people, in the information era, we should ask people. We don't always do that, because there are leftovers from industrial era where we thought, well, you know, these are the people who are doing the work. Why should they know how to do it? And it's a different way of thinking, a different philosophy about management. Today, we understand that the people that are doing the knowledge work may well be the people who best know how to do it. And there's the big difference. So, but even today, we see remnants of Taylorism in our management practices. The various new methods that have been introduced since the late 1980s, and the methods continue to evolve. Lean production. Japan was able to dominate global automobile markets by using these types of techniques. Soft manufacturing, or agile manufacturing. This is a combination of design features and automation. And re-engineering, the sorts of things that Hammer and Champy talked about in their book, Re-Engineering the Organization. Fundamental rethinking of practices, redesigning of existing processes and practices, completely. Thinking about it as a clean sheet of paper, not just an extension of what you've done in the past. The Japanese idea of operations management, as many of these things do, comes out of necessity.